Makeup can get trickier after 40, so let's make it easier. Today I'm doing a fresh, glowy eye and skin makeup look on my 47-year-old gorgeous client, Jute, and I'm walking you through it every step of the way. Let's get started. Jute came in wearing sunscreen and a bit of base, so we needed to start fresh and just remove everything. To do that, I used this guy. This is the kojic acid and turmeric cleansing cream, which has a really unique texture that's basically the combination of a sorbet and a cream. It melts right into the skin and takes off every trace of SPF and makeup. This is actually what I've been using every night to remove my own makeup, and it's from the Korean skincare brand Mimmua, who is sponsoring a part of today's video. So thank you to Mimmua for partnering with me on the skincare part of this video. This brand is amazing. I've been testing them for months and I've been really enjoying the product. So I'm just super excited to share it with you. What I love about this cleanser is that the kojic acid and turmeric work together to help brighten dull skin over time. So even though it's not a leave-on product, you still get those added benefits as part of your cleansing routine, and it smells fabulous, which is great for you when you're using it on yourself, but it's also really great for my clients when I use it on them as well. Next, I use the Volume Up Time Lock Serum. I talked about this in a live stream recently. You guys went crazy over it. The star ingredient in this product is very unique. It's something called Volufill-In, which has actually been clinically shown to help plump the skin, but from the inside. It is great for softening fine lines around the eyes. That's where I use it a lot, around the mouth, on the forehead, all of those spots that tend to show aging first. The formula uses 5% Volufill-In, which is the concentration that showed the best results in testing. So that is also really good to know. It also has 40% beta glucan. If you haven't heard of this ingredient before, think of it like a super hydrator. It's actually more hydrating than hyaluronic acid, and it's really gentle, so it can be used on any skin type. As you can see, the texture is milky, and you can use it on your face, your neck, or anywhere where you want that smoothing effect. For moisturizer, I applied the Niacindy Radiance Cream. This formula is all about brightening and helping with dark spots and discoloration, which Jute struggles with, so that's why I chose it for her. It has 3 ingredients that work together. There is 10% niacinamide, which helps prevent new dark spots from forming. There is thioctic acid, which is really popular brightening ingredient in Korean clinics and is incredibly strong and effective at fading existing hyperpigmentation. And then there is NAD, which helps with dullness and gives your skin an antioxidant boost. The little capsules that you see inside are what hold the thioctic acid and the NAD, so it's very cool. This is a great moisturizer for colder months like now. It's great for dry skin, and it works beautifully as a night cream too, which is where I primarily use it. Very unique formula that you don't see every day, you know. If you haven't checked out Mimmua, they're definitely worth looking into, and right now is a great time because there is 30% off for Black Friday with an extra 5% off. The cleansing cream would make an amazing stocking stuffer for Christmas for literally anyone. I'm just saying. I will leave all the links in the description box below for you. Next up are the brows. I actually like doing brows first because applying them on clean, dry skin gives you much better grip and longer wear time, and you can clean out any of the shaping issues that might happen before you get the foundation, everything else on there. So for Jute, I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder in the color Auburn. Her natural brows are actually blonde, although her hair is this beautiful saturated red tone. I knew that I needed to warm up the brows a little bit to balance things out. I started with this warmer shade here in the duo, and I softly filled in the tails, keeping the front of the brows nice and light so it doesn't look blocky. And then anywhere I needed a bit more definition and the powder wasn't enough, I switched over to the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer, also in the color Auburn. Once I had the shape right, I added a touch of the deeper shade from the Anastasia Duo to give the brows a little bit more depth, so they weren't too light red for her hair color. And then I cleaned up underneath with a flat brush and a little concealer. And then to finish it off, I brushed through a clear brow gel just to fluff up the hairs and give that really nice, soft, laminated look. All right, the next step was to prep the eyes, and the way that I did that was just by using a concealer from the lash line all the way up to the brow bone to even out that canvas before we paint on top of it. And then of course I set it with a powder so the shadow would blend seamlessly on top and not stick to the concealer. For our eyeshadow palette today, I was working with a brand new release, and it's Vanngo's Color Story eyeshadow palette in the color Outstanding Orange. I wanted to go outside of the box for this look, do something something that wasn't just a very simple neutral. We've seen that. I do that a lot on the channel. You know, I really wanted to show you guys how you can use a palette like this that's a little bit more fun. And I knew the color would work for jute because copper shades look amazing on blue eyes, since blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel, making them complementary colors. So if you have blue eyes, gravitating towards orangey shades, copper shades, those are going to be very, very flattering because of the color wheel and how they amplify the blue. And you'll see at the end how amplified her eyes were by using this color family. I started off the eye look by doing a wash on the entire lid and crease with this mid-tone orange right here and Rephr number 15, which is a fluffy crease brush. Okay, I just wanted to diffuse and blast that whole area out with a mid-tone orange shade. And then I added a little more depth to the outer corners with this deeper shade of orange, which is right here, and Rephr 14, which is a smaller crease brush. So this is a little bit smaller and tighter, which is really nice for getting on the outside corners of the eyes. And then right after that, I popped this metallic tone on the lid for that high shine reflection. What makes the Vanngo palettes exceptional, in my opinion, is that they each have 4 shadow textures, which makes it really easy to create so many different looks. They have satin, which is like a high definition without glitter. So you can see that these are satin shades. They have 3D mattes, which are cream to powder shades. They have their metallics, which are the high shine reflection, and then they have their standard matte shades. So they're really nice because the color families work together, but the textures are different. So you can kind of create a lot of different things with them. And they come in so many fun colors. This was a great new launch this year. Vanngo really knocked it out of the park with this. And I really think that if you need a new eyeshadow palette and you like experimenting with different textures and different colors, this is one to definitely look at. And then after that, I defined the lash line with a chocolate brown liner and I softly smudged it out with a pencil brush, which is Rephr 3, just for that beautiful diffusion. Now I know you're gonna ask me what eyeliner I use. I know you're gonna ask me because eyeliners, great eyeliners, are not always easy to find. So if you guys don't know, I'm actually launching a makeup brand in the new year that I'm super excited about. And this liner that I'm using is actually a lab sample from the collection that I am launching. It's an unbranded lab sample and I just had to use it on this day because it is the softest, most flattering, most beautiful eyeliner formula that I have ever used in my 19 years of experience as a makeup artist. And I almost feel bad saying that because I mean, I created it, so it seems like a little bit egotistical, but I was having such a hard time finding liners that look gorgeous on mature skin because they often look too harsh or they're very hard to smudge and blend. So I started working on this and I have been developing this for over a year and a half. I'm so sorry that you can't buy it now. I know I'm teasing it. I wasn't even gonna tell you in this video, but I know you guys are gonna ask me in the comment section. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be an amazing thing that comes out next year. And I really cannot wait for you guys to see it in its finished perfect state. So that's the liner I used on her and that's why it's so velvety and delicious and creamy and smudgy. All right, moving on. After that, I cleaned out any fallout under the eyes and I moved on to complexion. The eyes are still very unfinished, so bear with me. We need to trust the process. So for complexion, I am using the Tear Mask Fit Red Liquid Foundation. This was also a launch that came out last year that was pretty interesting. And I use the color 22N Shell Beige. I know we have a really hard time finding our color in Tear. There's a lot of options and you have to buy it online, so it can be really tough. So if you look like jute, this is the color 22N and it was a perfect match for her. This is a full coverage foundation with a satin luminous finish for a glass skin effect. So it looks luminous, but it's actually more of a like a satin matte finish, believe it or not. It's got an interesting texture to it. This formula doesn't look good on dry skin or on skin with too much texture. So keep that in mind. I find it better for normal combination skin types and skin that's a little bit smoother in general. I do find it clings a little bit to texture, so you got to be careful with that. When applying this foundation, you want to go in stippling motions. This is not a foundation that looks good when it's buffed on or swiped on with a brush, because it's actually pretty sticky, kind of like a traditional cushion foundation, but in liquid form. So you need to apply it like a cushion foundation. So just stipple it on. That's going to give you the best finish with this specific formula. I also used the Tear concealer. The color that I used was 3W. Again, it was a really good match for her. I applied the concealer very strategically under her eyes, just a tiny little bit. You can see that Jute doesn't really struggle with under eye circles. She doesn't have those dark, very discolored hollows. It's just a tiny little bit of brightening that we needed. So I applied a little bit where that under eye skin meets the cheek, and then I blended it out with this brand new brush, N19 from Nikki LaRose. This is Nikki LaRose and BK Beauty. They did a second collab. If you've been under a rock and you don't know, they did a second collab, which is so exciting. So there's a whole new set of Nikki LaRose brushes that are amazing, and this is probably my favorite from that collection because it is so different. It is so innovative. I've never seen a brush that is shaped like this. The really cool thing about it is it fits like right into the under eye zone. Do you see that? So if you want to try something new, I highly recommend trying this one. This really gives the most flawless, most beautiful under eye blend ever. It's amazing. Let's move on to contour. So Jute was sharing with me that she's feeling a bit self-conscious about her jawline. She's really worried about getting jowls, and she kind of feels like it's happening. I don't see it. I think she is a beautiful angel, but I am always very receptive to my clients' concerns. And so what I did here is I just framed out that area with some contour, and the contour I used was by Satcho. This is in the color 2, giving Iconic, which is really nice for fair skin. And you can see when I apply it on her that it has a nice cool tone. So contour has to be cool, right? Because we want to mimic a shadow, whereas bronzer is warm because it mimics sunlight. So because we're working under the chin here, we really need to make sure this is cool toned because we don't want it to look tanned, because sun would never hit there, so it would look unnatural. We just want to create a shadow to make it seem like her face is a little more oval and a little less square. When I blend out contour, I like using a mix of sweeping and pressing motions. Pressing is going to push it into the skin. Sweeping is going to shear it out. So you can see where I'm pressing it and where I am sweeping and blending it down. When I get to the cheekbones, you can see that I always contour moving up. You can press and sweep here as well, but just make sure that you're not dragging the contour down because you don't want the face to look too hollow, especially as we get older. We don't want to look skeletal or like we don't have that plump, collagen-filled face. We just want lift. So if you apply your contour here, just make sure to lift it up rather than drag it down. Finally, I added a little bit of contour to her nose as well, not to necessarily change the shape of it because she already has like a very small, perfect straight nose, but I like adding some contour there just to give it a bit of structure and dimension. It gives the face a little bit more dimension, which is nice. And then I finished it all off by powdering the mid-face area with a triangular powder puff and the Laura Mercier translucent powder. And that was to set the makeup, but also because Jute has combination skin and we wanted just to set that so that it would look perfect for the whole entire day. Now that under the eyes are done, we can get back to the eyes. So I took this initial color that I used to wash the lid with, remember? And I added it to the under eye area using like a dense pencil brush. It was Rephr number 3. And then I curled the lashes. At this point, her eyes were getting really tired and they started watering a lot. So we took a little break there again. I was gonna finish the eyes at this stage, but because her eyes started watering, we moved back into the complexion to finish that off, give her eyes a break, and then we're gonna come back and do the lashes. Let's move into blush. So for blush, I use the brand new Huda Beauty blush palette in the color Toasty Peach. I use this to warm up the cheekbones and to connect the eyes to the face. I wanted things to look harmonious, so I did that with the blush. When working with a more mature face, I like to keep the blush a little higher on the cheekbones so it doesn't get too close to the nasolabial folds and drag the cheekbones down. And then after that, her eyes were doing better, so we added several coats of the L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. Now, lips were a bit of a journey for us because there was a bit of an evolution, so stay with me. I used the NYX lip liner and I filled her entire lip in with it. So I used it like a lipstick, and that's what I always do with lip liners. I wash the entire lip in with it so that when the lipstick or the gloss wears out, you still have the color from the waxy lip liner. I absolutely love lip liner, and I love that it kind of stays on the lips for so long because it is waxy. So I always use it as a preliminary step like a lipstick. And then I topped it off with the Versed Tinted Lip Serum in the color Flamingo, which is also very warm and coppery. You know, it has that orangey tone to it. Now, I like it. It's a very nice, very natural daytime lip that's very easy to wear, but we're gonna change it up a little bit more, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it. So keep watching because this lip is gonna change a little bit, and I would love to know what you think about the change. So let's move on to the eyes again. I decided at the last minute to add a few clusters of velour lashes. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to fill in a little bit of the gaps and bring a little more definition to the upper eyelid area. At the very end, after I saw how the lashes looked, I decided to add a little bit more of that chocolate brown liner to the bottom lashes as well, just to define the entire look even more. And then I added a dusting of mascara to the bottom lashes and finished with the L'Oreal setting spray for all day wear. And then off camera, I washed her hair and I gave her a very bouncy 90s blowout. Here is Jute in the before when she walked into the studio, and here she is in the after. I just absolutely loved how bright and how beautiful her eyes looked with the coral undertones, with the orange palette. Now, let's get back to lips. I wanna show you one more option for lipstick. When I was looking at her off camera and on camera, I just kept feeling like something could be better. You know what I mean? Do you ever have that when you do your makeup? You're like, something could be better. And I realized it was the lips. And the reason that I think it wasn't as good as it could be is because her hair color is so rich and saturated. We needed something that had more depth and more lip saturation to balance out the hair color. So at the very end, I blotted her lips down and I added the lip liner Spice by MAC, which is a super classic liner. And then I topped it off with this gloss by e.l.f. This is the Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen, and it is in the color Wicked Cherry. Jute actually had this gloss in her purse, and it was perfect. I feel like when you're working with someone, it's really important to look at what they are already wearing and what they are already attracted to, because no one knows someone's face better than the person who has it. You know, no matter how many years I've been doing makeup, really the person that has their own face is gonna know their face the best. And intuition over what looks good is often a very good indicator of what actually does look good. So if you are new to makeup or really enjoying playing with makeup right now at this moment, trust your intuition because it will often lead you in the right direction. And in Jute's case, it did. This lipstick was like, it just took everything to the next level for me. Let me know in the comments which one you like the most. Up next on the channel, learn some celebrity makeup tricks that the top artists use on their A-list celebrities. Or if you want to keep exploring, you can also check out this video that YouTube recommends for you. I'll see you over there.